Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining in to our second workshop session, the Poli-Si Counterintelligence Training. I want to make everyone aware it is being recorded, and this video will be distributed after the call, and it will be uploaded on YouTube. And the content, the sole rights of content and materials discussed within this workshop for the Poli-Si Counterintelligence training series belongs to Quantum Reality Studies and author Jamie Rice, and no part of the Poli-Si Counterintelligence training may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any other means without prior written permission of author Jamie Rice. All right, Jamie, turning it over to you.
Okay, real quick, I think Danielle's in the lobby to come in.
All right, let me go ahead.
All right, greetings, targets. Welcome back to Beyond the Looking Glass Counterintelligence Operations Training. This is Module 2. Session 2, entitled Resonance Mapping, Biofield Activation, and Building Organic Biomarkers for Mind, Brain, Heart, Nervous System Free Will Coherence. In this session, we embark on our trauma-informed healing journey while simultaneously decoding, encoding, and recoding systems for the collective. Our focus is a three-part system representing the subconscious mind, collective unconscious, and conscious mind. Using the Poli-Si self-governing iterative, I can never say this word, iterative learning model to foster defense and response through non-dual somatic programming. The Poli-Si framework integrates all processes that we've learned thus far into a cohesive system for growth. This methodology drives gradual improvement by learning from each cycle to enhance the next. It involves learning from mistakes to build knowledge, adopting an iterative mindset with three key components. Assess, practice, and iterate. Assess requires us to evaluate current states and context. Practice requires us to engage in continuous practice to achieve automaticity of habits through repetition. Iterate requires us to refine and improve based on our prior cycles. This process teaches us to express repetition of verbal and somatic actions, emphasizing what we do creates the next experience, repeated over and over. In the shadowy realm of modern counterterrorism, where threats like AI-driven cognitive warfare, electronic harassment, and multidimensional manipulations loom, the Poli-Si framework offers a groundbreaking approach. By leveraging the human biofield, the body's electromagnetic and subtle energy field, as a sophisticated detection technology, Poli-Si empowers targeted survivors to counter threats with clarity and resilience. The Beyond the Looking Glass program, rooted in Poli-Si's non-dual somatic practices and the Probing-Sensing-Categorizing-Responding workflow, builds attention span for sustained focus, spatial recognition for threat mapping, emotional regulation to enhance nervous system capacity. These techniques enable individuals to detect biofield signals categorized as resonance equals coherent, harmonious energy fostering cohesion, static equals disruptive, discordant interference signaling threats like frequency-based attacks or psychological operations. By training the nervous system to distinguish these signals, survivors can maintain focus, map threats spatially, and regulate emotions, countering tactics designed to exploit subconscious triggers, fight, flight, fawn, freeze. These methods transform vulnerabilities into strength in a high-stakes counterterrorism scenario. The biofield acts as an antenna, detecting multidimensional signals. Resonant signals promote coherence, while static signals indicate threats. Poli-Si's techniques, grounded in the Probing-Sensing-Categorizing Categorizing-Responding cycle enhance nervous system capacity by focusing on biofield signal detection. So I know we've gone through this multiple times, but probing is exploring the context to understand the environment. Sensing is detecting biofield signals, resonance or static. Categorizing is organizing data for clarity. And responding is acting non-dually to ensure coherent, authentic responses. These techniques counter multidimensional threats from electronic harassment to AI-driven cognitive attacks, ensuring clarity under pressure. A robust attention span trained to anchor on resonant signals and filter static is critical for monitoring erratic signals and resisting cognitive disruptions. Today, we're going to begin constructing the resonance map, a mental workspace for healing and growth. This process will unfold over multiple sessions, so please avoid feeling overwhelmed. Set your ego aside, embrace intuitive learning, and trust that we have all the tools to build this framework. Let's draw the map, and we'll explain the process as we go. So Melissa has a copy of the map, but what I would like everyone to do is have 3 pieces of paper, and I want you to physically draw out the map yourself so you understand the framework. So does everybody have paper and pen, or do we need to wait for anyone to get situated?
I'm having to work right now while I'm listening to the call, but I took a screenshot.
Okay. All right. So everybody get your blank piece of paper out. Put about 1 inch from the top. Draw a line across. Melissa, do you want to be the gauge? Are you doing this along with me, or?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at the top of the paper, we're going to have 3 categories. At the top left-hand side, I want you to write the word input. Start a second line and write subconscious mind. Third category underneath subconscious mind is probing/sensing. And under that, write decoding systems. So the middle category we're going to entitle processing. Under that, write collective unconscious. Under that, write the word categorizing. And then under that, encoding systems. So the third category on the right-hand side of the page, write the word output. Under that, conscious mind. Under that, responding. And then recoding systems. So in the center of the page, under processing, so you should have a line, I want you to draw 7 circles in the middle of the page. And then I want you to start at the bottom and write in that circle root. The second circle sacral. Third is solar. Fourth, draw a heart. The next one's throat. The next one's brow. and then the seventh one is crown. So we have root, sacral, solar, heart, throat, brow, crown. Okay. Does anybody need any time? Feel free to chime in, guys, and say slow down or speed up or whatever.
Since I'm sharing screen, can you, as co-host, if there's anyone in the lobby, omit them?
Sure. How do we do that?
Do you see an omit all button?
No.
There may not be anyone in there. Let me go to. Okay. Do y'all still see the document now?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, I can keep an eye on it. I do see someone.
Okay, so to the left, on the left-hand side of the page, next to crown, I want you to write present moment self-awareness. Under that, to the left of brow, write emotional honesty. To the left of throat, write self-accountability. To the left of heart, write empathy. To the left of solar, write self-compassion. To the left of sacral, self-acceptance. To the left of root, write gratitude. So to the right of root, write the word surrender. To the right of sacral, write trust/allow. To the right of solar, write feel. To the right of heart, write cleanse. To the right of throat, write heal. To the right of brow, write forgive. And to the right of crown, write release. Now at the very bottom of the page, in between the two spaces, write the word determination off to the side of gratitude. And then write the word tolerance near the word surrender. Does anybody have any questions so far? No? All right. So this map is the foundation of Poli-Si. This is a resonance map. It's your mental workspace. It's a safe space within that gives you access to quarantine timelines and immunity structures, allowing time to heal and grow. Here we solve problems through iterative learning cycles by releasing psychological implants and energetic fields. This workspace enables us to zoom in and zoom out, set boundaries, and choose where to focus our energy, prioritizing what matters, you, the human being, controlling the controllable, which is aligning your perceptions, intentions, motivations, and behaviors. Through this process, we will relearn how to think, perceive, intend, sense, categorize, probe, process, discern, store, transmute, and transmit information as data through energy exchange formulas. We're building a fraud-free, authentic, coherent nervous system. So this system is a mirror protocol. It's a mirror platform, and we are tasked with building the nervous system capacity to construct an advanced neural network and energy mapping system. Basically, this is an advanced encryption system. So this is not theoretical. This is an operational system that is already out there. So the resonance map is filtered through the Probing-Sensing template, as you can see on the left-hand side of the page. Information is encoded and categorized somatically, bringing unconscious thought to the conscious mind for review. The conscious mind is on the left side, is on the right side of the page. Trauma is witnessed, recoded, and responded through free will choice aligned with your desired outcome. The Poli-Si protocol is a mirror platform aligning perceptions, intentions, motivations, and behaviors with authentic coherence, enabling innate consciousness to flow through organic life systems. All experiences are filtered through the following gates on the left-hand side: the present moment self-awareness, emotional honesty, self-accountability, empathy, self-compassion, self-acceptance, and gratitude. So we're just going to go ahead and go in and just start giving you guys examples of how to start this process. So I always begin my process by stating, I am safe, I am loved, I am supported in the ever-present now moment through my authenticity. And then, sorry, I've got notes everywhere. And then the second thing I say is I now give my subconscious mind permission to push past all psychological blocks and energetic fields to expand into my highest awareness. You definitely want to create this space for yourself and an intention moving into this process. So, does anybody have any questions so far?
Amy, I think it would be a good idea for these two intentions that you stated, if we can get that included in today's hand. Those are very powerful statements. I think we would like that. Although it'll be part of the video, but it would be good to have it published too.
Okay. So I'd like to open up with Melissa, Angie, and Emily, so we can work this process together. Is that possible?
Yes. Let me.
Yes.
Yes. Just go ahead and unmute. All right. There we go.
So this template is used for everything. If you're blocked, if you're having a relationship issue, having any type of issue, it's basically for all circumstances, situations, life events, everything can be brought to this. Because this is your neural network and encryption system. This is how you're creating the cryptographic mind. You're bringing everything within and you're processing through your own systems. You're figuring out what is me and what is, what's coming from outside of me, what versus what's inside of me. So what do you guys want to pick for an issue, a mock issue?
Getting bullied at work.
Pardon me?
Getting bullied at work.
Okay. So the first thing would be I would sit down, I would repeat the two statements, and then this is about listening, okay? It's about asking questions, listening, and feeling into your body, locating where the energy is. Okay, so my first question would be, how can I bring more self-awareness into this issue of me being bullied at work? Then I would stop and I would breathe. So this is going to be your map. So you stop, breathe, and listen. Okay? Usually when you're caught in an emotional trap, you can't get answers right away. So it's a process. So when you stop and you listen and feel into the body, you're slowing down all of your processes. You're feeling into the body, you're listening to the question. Usually the first question that you ask, you might not get an answer. So again, just listen. You might come up with one word. Usually the first word is some oblivious word. You have no idea what it means. That's just an indication that your conscious mind has not caught up to your subconscious mind's process. So you just write the word down. Emily, do you want to come up with the word?
Hate came up. I don't know.
Okay. So you would write the word hate anywhere on the form. And we're going to give you all these questions and everything that we do for this workflow. I'll prepare it and give it to you guys later. So the word hate comes up. So what do? You have no idea what that means. So the next question that I would ask myself, where do I feel this hate in my body? And then by the time you ask that, you're going to stop and listen and breathe. Feel into the body scan. Let's just say you got a signal in your solar plexus. I would then take my pen and just write a note and write the word hate. So then I would move to the next question. How can I bring more emotional honesty in to this bullying at work? Ask the question, stop, listen, feel into the body for signals. Usually you're going to come up with words that are projection at first, because you're still in a trigger and that's fresh in your mind.
Jamie, can I add that I feel like here most people are going to actually feel something and not hear something. They're going to feel their cortisol spiking, so they're going to be immediately feeling like that. So they may not be able to comprehend what's happening because their cortisol is so high.
Okay, so in which case what we would do is you would notice I'm triggered. We always go back to so I was in a trigger the other night and I stopped. Now I've been doing this a long time, so I'm able to bing, bang, boom, figure things out. So I said, what is this? What do you feel right now? And I said, I feel like I want to fight. So clearly I was in fight. So I stop, I breathe, I feel into my body, and I say, what is this connected to? And I hear gaslighting, manipulation. So I know that's an old trusty friend that likes to rear its ugly head at me on occasion. So I know right from there, stop, process out my emotions. So I feel this in my body. I have an energy surge. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of the page where I see surrender because I've noted a feeling state. I feel anxiety, I'm triggered, and I'm angry. So I would allow myself to surrender to that feeling, and I'm breathing. You have to breathe. You have to bring these feelings up. The breath is going to move the energy out for you. It's going to bring it up and out. So we would sit down, I would surrender, talk to myself, trust, allow this process, feel into these feelings, cleanse, and then I'll go back and ask questions. So we talked about this before, you're going to feel like, so for me, I feel like bees buzzing around inside of me, like they're starting to stir. So that's telling me that I'm uprooting these thoughts and ideas that I'm holding on to. So does anybody else want to chime in? No?
I guess just reiterating the surrender part, because from my experience, you're not going to get anywhere.
Well,
it's not
we're
going to work.
We're still at the top of the page, and Angie brought in the fact that usually you might not hear a word if you're just starting this process, but you're going to feel something. So we have to get acclimated to the energy, so you have to surrender to this and trust and allow for this process to unfold. So the next question would be, how can I bring more emotional honesty into this bullying at work? And then again, I would listen and then locate where the energy is.
Because when you surrender, you're bringing the self-awareness in, Jamie.
What, honey?
Because when you're surrendering, right? When you're surrendering, like Emily said, how important that surrender is. Because when you can surrender, that's when everything kind of goes quiet, and that's where that's where we get to go back up to the top. Yeah, is what I was saying. At the self-awareness, you're finally you can get there. Yeah.
So again, it's the listening process, but usually by the time, it has been my experience, I could be totally blocked. By the time I go into the self-accountability phase, and this is where we're going to ask questions, so you guys can write these down. So we're taking more self-accountability. Basic questions I always ask myself. How can I see this differently? Next question, what am I not seeing? Next question, what am I most afraid of losing? Next question, am I lying to myself to avoid a painful truth? Repeat it again. Am I lying to myself to avoid a painful truth? Next question, am I allowing myself to be manipulated? Now, each one of these questions is going to send you off into another direction, which is what you want to do, is pull in as many perspectives as you possibly can. So usually by the time you take the self-accountability, you soften a little bit because you were able to see perhaps maybe someone, your tone or something in your behavior is triggering someone else or whatever it is. Not that we agree with it, but we can at least see it. And when you can see it, you can reconcile, which is going to take you to your next step. So the self-accountability will automatically bring in empathy. And that gives you the ability to then soften and say, okay, let me sort through the facts that I can prove versus my opinions and how I feel. Because again, your feelings are not facts, okay? And nothing has anything to do typically with the situation at hand. It's hitting on inner child timelines, shadow aspects, recursive trauma loops, nervous system dysregulation, or some type of psychological block that you have.
I'd like to add that I feel like feelings are the signals. They're that stored, memories and in the body, in the biofield. Another thing that came up while you were talking too is the ego is at war with the higher self, and because it doesn't want to die off, it's like it's the defense mechanism, right? It's pride, it's all of these things. It's what anchors woundedness. So just food for thought there. This stirs up a lot of things internally because that ego does not want to die off.
No.
When you have evolved into that great connection with your higher self, then that's like what Jamie said, it's the bees getting stirred up.
So that's why we wrote the words determination and tolerance. Because when I first started this process, as soon as I would sit down to do this work, I would fall asleep. Or I would forget what I was even thinking about. And I was like constantly being sidelined. That's why you're going to have to exert your intention. Stick with it. Pick a thought. It's also not uncommon for you to be flooded with 50 thoughts and not know which direction. That flooding of thoughts is going to create confusion. That's what it's designed for. It's designed to stop you and confuse you so you won't keep going. So that's why we need determination and tolerance to stick with it. If you can only do 10 minutes, that's fine, but keep going back. You have to chip away at it. This is a recursive loop that we're revisiting each time. And we see it from a different perspective each time we go in. All right, so is everybody with us at this point, or do we need to go back on anything, revisit? All right, so this is a very important part. Again, we talked about this is a asking questions and listening process. You might ask a question and become so overwhelmed that you can't even move past the dialogue. You need to go down to the end of the page, surrender, trust, allow, and feel into your emotions. You're going to have to do a lot of breathing with this, and sometimes it's going to be long breaths in. Sometimes I'll sit here and go, like I'm pushing the energy out. Depending on the level of trauma or, you know, the hijack, it's going to be a task for you to move this energy through. So just understand that, yes, you are going to come up to these barriers, but that's where the determination and tolerance comes in. You're building the nervous system capacity to be able to do this work. Each time it's going to get easier and easier. And quite frankly, the end result is you have a completely, fully functional, sophisticated neural network plugged into organic life systems, okay? So you are your own containment system. You are processing and discerning information through yourself. You're a processor, filtering out the negative distortions and bringing in the clarity. So expect obstacles. Expect to become overwhelmed with the energies. If you run into any problems, call me. I'll work you through the steps. In fact, that's what I want everybody to do from now on, is to call me. And what we're going to do is work this process. This process, so your brain is always sensing, categorizing, and responding all day long. All you're doing is bringing up those unconscious processes and becoming aware. And then you're adding in the probing, sensing, categorizing, responding. Because this is about free will coherence, okay? Being your own guided system. You're not stepping inside of programming. So let's go to the next step. The process that we use, the formula is information plus knowledge minus polarity equals coherence. So really what we're doing with this resonance map is mapping out polarity. Where does the polarity exist within me? Where am I holding on to this tension? What's this tension attached to? What belief is this? What thoughts attached to the ideas behind this belief? What's holding me back? Why can't I move past this? So we're unblocking ourselves, removing psychological implants and energetic seals ultimately through this process. All right. So we'll go back to the left-hand side of the page, the empathy. Usually by the time you take self-accountability, you soften, empathy comes in, and then you have full reign, self-compassion floats up to the top, and all of a sudden you just let yourself off the hook for all this stuff. And so each question is a listen. How can I bring in more self-compassion to this bullying at work issue? All right, little help here, guys. I can't see anybody, so it's just so hard to have a conversation when I can't see anyone.
Did we go through, like, if Emily is open to sharing on the self-accountability, what may have came up for her there, just to give an example to those that are participating when they work the process themselves?
Yeah, so for me, it's like an understanding of how my actions and what I'm doing actually affects the situation and how I feel and why I think the way that I do.
Okay.
And what I'm taking away from it.
Okay. So the formula that we use, so I check myself all the time. When I step into, so someone sent me an email in response to a letter that I sent them, went out in left field. That's what I had to sit down. They gaslit me and were trying to manipulate me. So I was in a trigger. I sat down. How can I bring in more self-awareness? I heard gaslighting, manipulation. So I cut it off there. The first thing I do is I say, what is your perception, intention, motivation, and behavior display? I always go back to my intentions and motivation for something. That's how I know I'm clear. My intention with this was to be helpful. My motivation was to spread awareness. So when I check myself, I automatically let myself off the hook. That doesn't mean that something I did wasn't perceived by someone else as a negative or a positive, but then that's where we go into, okay, what is it that I can control? I can only control my thoughts, feelings, actions, reactions, and responses. I can't control how someone else perceives me and responds to what I said. So I usually typically let it go, but that doesn't mean that I don't have self-compassion for them or that I'm not offering them empathy, because I am. I see how they took it, but I also see the programming. I see the mind control. We're taking self-accountability by focusing on what we can control. And that's what this is all about. We're not trying to control what other people think or how they feel. We're not trying to convince them of what we're trying to communicate. They either get it or they don't, and this is where we start setting boundaries within ourselves.
And also, like, accountability in the sense of, like, you have the power to do something too. Like, take charge of, like, your life, your situation, how you feel, etc.
Yeah. So through this, we basically realized where we were lacking. Maybe we didn't set a boundary, because boundaries require clear communication. If you don't speak up in a moment where it needed to be spoken, and you go off to the side and have 15 conversations with your friends about someone else that you could have said one sentence and set the boundary, that's on you. And really, that's what we're trying to get to, is look, we're really decoding the human condition here. Because we've been conditioned to not tell the truth, to not speak our mind, to worry about how someone is going to receive what we have to say. We're letting all of that go, but it's a process. It takes time. You don't just one day say, oh, I want to not care what other people think about me. No, that takes time. You have to come into yourself before you actually feel that. You have to integrate that. It's all about actions. You can say it all day long, but if you don't follow through with actions, it's not going to change. It's going to be the same programming. So, Angie, do you have anything to add?
So no, I was just going to say that once you get to the self-accountability and the honesty, you really kind of start to really see the human condition, and that empathy comes in, and I feel like this is where we start to identify the belief systems of ourself within our morphogenic field or our biofield, but also the mirror neurons. So the self-accountability really truly does start to turn online. I know that's way far out there after really settling into the body, but your body really does start. You are your own self-governing understanding.
Yeah. So this is a communication. So this is your mental workspace, okay? This is your safe space. This is where you're communicating to the field, the coherence field, which is where we're trying to make it, okay? We want to keep ourselves connected to that field 24/7. It's our safety zone, okay? But we have to release polarity through the process. We can't, you're not allowed in the zone if you're polarized. If you have religious programming, societal programming, cultural programming, you're stuck in victimizer, you're gaslighting people, you still have blockages where you're defending, deflecting. Basically, you have to get outside of the five senses, and that's what this does. We bring up the unconscious beliefs so you can work through them, heal, transmute the energy, and then transform into another timeline.
This really is expansive, you know, because when you take the accountability, you expand into the next thought or the next, oh, I'm taking accountability for what I said, or I'm taking accountability. And so here comes the solution, you know, the moving forward into your expansive state.
Yeah. So through working this process, this is where you problem solve and find solutions. Because if you're not asking the questions, if you're doing the same old thing, you're going to get the same old answers. If you want new answers, because remember, we're experiencing problems as solutions in a time delay. There are no problems. There's only solutions to be found. And because we're in time, we can't see the solution. And if we're blocked through emotions, we're not going to get to that highest and best solution for ourselves or all parties involved. We're trapped below the five senses, which is in survival responses. We're expanding outside the survival responses. And the reality is we're in a chemical-based reality. You know, trapped below the five senses, signals are pinging off of us all day long. You know, we are all conditioned through trauma-based mind control. That's just what it is. But we work our way out of trauma-based mind control by seeing the polarity, how our perceptions are polarized, how we've been conditioned to think and believe. So that brings me to the next thing. So when I was in my trigger and I processed it out, it was manipulation, gaslighting. I said, okay, this is religious programming that I'm dealing with. Well, I made the decision. I can't deal with this person because there's nothing that I can do for this person. Nothing except enable them to stay polarized by agreeing with them and not speaking the truth. You have to be authentic and honest. You have to, like, some of these people are our family members and close friends, but you're literally in the same cycle pattern with these people. There's nothing that you can do for them. So, you know, you have to move on. You can't keep circling back to people and trying to get them to understand you. It's just not going to work. You need to find the people that do understand you, that are like you. So this is about letting go of the things that we can't control. So it brings me to the next thing. So I don't know who's on this call, but I can tell you right now, Poli-Si template is a non-dual template, okay? We do not work inside of polarity. We are working outside of polarity. So if you are in this structure, it is a mirror. It is going to bring up all of your distortions. You are not going to convince this structure that your polarities are real. You are the one who is going to suffer the consequences here. So that's why it's important to understand, if you nobody's telling you you can't believe what you believe. We're telling you that you need to put your beliefs, hold your beliefs up to the accountability mirror. For example, if you believe that your race of people is superior and that God thinks that your people are the apple of his eye, and if you speak out against these people, then you are speaking out against God, that's polarity, okay? I can't do anything with that. I can't help you. We can't do this. This structure is not going to help you. It's going to hurt you. In fact, this is no joke, healing from trauma. Angie and I just got word that a very highly intelligent human being is in a mental institution now. And that's because he didn't do his healing work. He's taken on higher intelligence knowledge without doing the healing work. This information is heavy, okay? This is the human condition. This is the collective issue that we have going on. This is brainwashing. You know, we're getting out from underneath brainwashing, mind control. And the only way we can do that is by dealing with the polarity. So if you're not down with that, this is not the right structure for you. It's not because we don't want you here. We want everybody here. Everyone is welcome, but you will be a hindrance to yourself, and we will not tolerate that here. We will, like I said, it's an accountability mirror. We will hold up the accountability mirror for you. We're not going to argue with you. We're not going to attack you, but we're not going to consent to manipulation. And that's just the bottom line. So anybody else?
I had a couple of things that came up as you were talking. To me, I think one of the best things one can do, and I found this to be very helpful to me, is being targeted kind of rips open your whole world. And, you know, it really does, it teaches you that what you thought was in place to protect you was a lie. Mm-hmm. And then it teaches you that as you move through with resilience and survival of being targeted, it teaches you to become your own protector, which I think this also, branches into higher awareness and consciousness. But to me, challenging beliefs was a big part of this, and I think that, everyone comes in with what, their parents, believed, and societal beliefs and all of these things. And then this process teaches you the individuality, because that is where the miracle and the blessing is defining what resonates with you versus what you've been led to believe, what you've been taught. And so you get into a place where it really provides you deep comfort, and when you start to question everything, and you start to look at it, and you start to kind of, feel through it, and you realize that, okay, this was something that I was taught to believe, or I was led to believe, and I was conditioned to believe, but it does not resonate with me. And then you put that aside, and you go on to the next. And then you will, to me, I think the most important thing that you can do in this life is to find out who you really are, what you resonate with, what your personal beliefs, your morality, that moral compass that you carry. And this is where liberation is. This is where true liberation is. And I think this is what we're all, our paths are destined to this. And it moves on to the next thing where I visually saw, that the society as a whole, I feel, is trapped under frozen water. And what water represents is emotions and feelings, right? This is how, yes, they keep us anchored into this, where, it's almost like there's so many that are frozen under a lake of water. And outside of that, you see the sun, you see an iceberg or whatever, but it's entrapment. And that emotions are entrapment. So that's why when we go through and we process, it leads into some deeper, maybe, childhood triggers, because these systems, these sophisticated, warfare weaponization systems want to keep us entrapped in our trauma and our fear and our emotions. And we find out a lot of times there may have been an event that, we experienced as a child where, that root where this trigger exists. And to me, it's like pruning. You've got to get to the root to get it up, to get it out, so it no longer has this cycle pattern of, coming in. You think that you've dealt with it, and then here it comes representing itself in a different form or fashion. And the other thing that I was reminded of when you were speaking too, is to speak about how nature processes. So in nature, they, let's say, a deer is under attack, or a bird, hits, let's a bird hits a glass, patio door, and it falls to the ground and it freezes. It is lifeless. You would think that it was dead. And so what I feel that nature does is, in that freezing moment, they are processing and releasing, and then slowly they come back, and then it flies off, and it's on to the next thing. It's nature. And I think that's where, animals can really teach us a lot, is they don't get stuck in the entrapment of the emotions of going over and over and over and over again about something traumatic. They process it through that freezing, and they move on, and they move forward. There was a book, I think it's called Walking or Taming the Tiger, it describes about how nature versus human mind processes, and how they're able to move forward, because they have to, because they're out in the wild. They cannot be thinking about what just happened to them an hour ago, because they're in the wild and they're surrounded by predators, and in a sense, so are we always. But we have to have that resilience to move forward and to process and move on.
I'd like to add, so we're trapped in the lower mind, below the five senses. So every thought, belief, idea, concept that you are attached to is going to cycle through the fight, flight, fawn, freeze. So we have repressed emotions. So if you don't have conscious review of what they are, you're just cycling without your awareness. Boom, you have a headache. Oh, I have a headache because of this. No, you have a headache because your nervous system, and all the stress or whatever it is that you're not bringing into your conscious view to process out. This is about processing. And that's where we've been cut off from the probing and the processing part, because we're doing it through the autonomous nervous system. It's doing it for us. So really we're bringing, ultimately what we're doing is, you're going to have full control over your mind. You're going to know every belief that you have, every thought, idea, and concept that you are either in alignment with or out of alignment with. You're going to know everything about yourself. So this is going to occur automatically, just like we're programmed now, but you're programming it through organic life systems. Okay? You're doing the work. You're staying focused. I am focused pretty much 24/7. I don't go offline. Occasionally, couple times a day, I'll walk through the house and I'll hear, I'm depressed. I'm like, what? Where did this thought come from? You know, I'm just picking up an unconscious thought that's coming up. Then I just need to process it out right then and there. But if I agree and say, yeah, I am depressed, well, guess what? My next experience, I'm moving from that depression state. I say, yeah, I get depressed. I might feel depressed right now, but I'm not a depressed person. That is a state of mind that I cycle through every now and again that I process out, because this is like seasons. You're going to go through seasons of, we're bringing up the guilt, fear, shame, anger, resentment, humiliation, contempt, sadness, and grief. We're bringing all of that up so you can notice, oh, I feel griefy. Oh, I have a little bit of anxiety right now. Well, why do you have anxiety? Well, what were you just thinking about? What were you just listening to? Who were you just talking to? You know, it's knowing your energies, who you're dealing with, and that's what this process does. It's going to be slow moving at first, and it's going to take us multiple sessions to build this out, but this is what we're wiring. And anybody now, so let's break this down. So our template, again, is the present moment self-awareness, emotional honesty, self-accountability, empathy, self-compassion, blah, blah, blah. If you don't agree with those things, those are gates. Everything that comes through you passes through those gates. If you do not think that they're on the up and up, because there's a lot of people out there pushing systems that are AI created. This is not AI created. This is created through the heart fire, through blood, sweat, and tears over 20 years, okay? This is not an inorganic structure, and you'll see that. But if someone's offering you something, just words on a paper without processing, I wouldn't even waste my time with that, because it's false. It's a false structure, you know? I use AI now to help me communicate what I need to say, but I feed everything into AI that I want AI. I'll feed the whole paper into AI and say, now make this sound intelligent, but use the same exact words. And it changes it slightly for me. So be wary of these programs that are taking you into higher knowledge and not asking you to do the healing work, because it's just important. You heal, expand. You heal again, expand into the next highest awareness. It's a recursive loop. It's a mirror system. Everybody, every person, circumstance, situation is mirroring something to you. Maybe they're not mirroring their behaviors to you, but they're mirroring something else, and it's for you to figure it out. It's like, so I look at it this way. You are playing, so the mind, it bounces around. You are literally entering a ping pong match with your mind every single day. The difference is right now you have one paddle and you are playing a four-handed player with four paddles, winging balls at you left and right. It is your job to stop and say, wait a minute, I feel very confused right now. Let me slow down. Let me breathe. Let me listen. You know, this is the process. Asking questions, listening. Don't be quick to jump or assume anything and think that you have an answer, because the answers are never going to be what you think they are. And they're going to be so mind-blowing that you could be blown over with a feather when you finally do get the answer. And when you reconcile it, you're going to go back to 0 point, your baseline, and you know you've arrived at the truth. And coherence cannot be mimicked, but ego can trick you into believing that you're coherent, bringing you to a baseline that you're comfortable with, because you don't even know what the true baseline is, because you're so polarized. You know, if you believe, again, that your race is superior over all other races, it's just not going to work for you. That's fake coherence. That's man told you something, you chose to believe it, and now you're up against a brick wall, and you have to work yourself out of the trap, but you're working from false information. This is about integration. We are all one. There's nothing that separates us except what we think and believe. That's it. We look differently, and what we think and believe is different, and that's what we're battling, is programs, mind control programs that are polarized, connected to belief systems that have us trapped in inner child timelines and shadow aspects, which takes us into the digital twin. You know, there's an exact replica of you, your nervous system. It knows your responses. AI is pinging off of you all day long. If you don't take this time to stop and find out what your baseline is, what your coherence level is, thinking pure thoughts, having pure intentions, motivations, and behaviors, then you're just in a fake coherence trap. You know, it's no different. You're cycling through the fight, flight, fall, and freeze, and you figured out a way to manipulate yourself. I see that everywhere. It's exhausting.
Yeah, you're essentially in a battle with yourself. You know,
yeah.
This technology that has cloned you, and again, all of the triggering is trying to keep you entrapped, because evolution, consciousness, raising the collective vibration for all, you know, is not what these systems want. Why? Because we cannot be controlled when we're operating in truth and authenticity and self-empowerment. And we can't.
Yeah. So in non-duality, you cannot be monitored and tracked because you're neutral. You're not giving off any signals. I was at the stove yesterday, and I was trying to set the timer, and I pressed all these buttons and got myself confused, and then I couldn't get the stove back to the original set point, and I started to get a little huffy, and then I stopped, and I said, what are you in a hurry for? I mean, just calm down and breathe. And then I realized all these sensors from our electronics are picking up our signals. So what you want to do is, I use the analogy, I used to watch Tom and Jerry when I was a kid, and they'd end up in jail, and the jail guy would be outside of the cell asleep, and Tom would send Jerry out and tell him to be real quiet and go get the keys and unlock the cage. That's what you're doing. You go into yourself, you quiet yourself down, you go into non-duality, you process everything out, and you can't be detected. This is like it's a stealth channel that we're picking up. It's a backdoor channel that is taking us to organic life systems. You don't want to give them anything to feed off of.
Because when you are, what I call it is the dance. You know, you're one thing after another thing, and it's just getting more tumultuous and emotional and anger and frustration and anxiety. You're in that circle of the dance, and it's so important to stop in that moment, going, okay, I'm in the dance. So where's this coming from? And then I start asking myself questions. I think labeling is very important. Oh, here is me trying to be a perfectionist. You know, I know my quirks. You know, this is about me trying to make everything perfect and right, and that's controlling. You know, so when you start getting into that self-accountability and self-honesty, you start to see yourself, and you can point it out quickly to yourself so that you can dial back. And you're catching yourself in that moment, and then it dissipates. And that's what the beauty of it is. It will dissipate because you've recognized it, you've processed it, and you've released it, and then you can move forward. But it's, you know, we are so wired that on how others can perceive us, when we get to the point where we're doing the self-work, it no longer matters what somebody's view is. And I know it's hard to think it, because sometimes these things really hurt. But it's also important to know that when you raise your vibration and you heal yourself and you become empowered, then that you have to look at it as you are emitting a different frequency. And where others were resonating with your lower frequency, they become in discord with you because you have raised yours and you're out of sync and out of harmony with one another. So they have a choice as themselves. Either they can level up and raise up to where things are more in harmony, or not. They could be rejecting. They could be, the ones that are reacting out at you because they want to connect with that lower frequency of what you were before and not with what you are right now. So we have to all look at this is very personal work and our life is not to be in harmony with others for the sake of lack of argument and to avoid discord, but you want to continuously push yourself and finding out in that self-discovery of who you are, whether when you're out of frequency with someone else or not. This is your personal journey is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want to cling on to, that previous version of who you were. So why? Because now you're stirring up as, that you're mirroring to them where they refuse to look at themselves. What you just healed may be triggering them because you rose your vibration up. So these are all things to take into consideration of why people start, acting out. And when they do and they want to be rejective, then just let it go. I've gotten to the point where this has happened so many times in my inner work and healing journey that instead of reflecting it as being something personal about me or a result of me, you have to realize that what were you doing before that? Okay, inner work, continuously trying to raise the vibration and to explore inner healing. And then that puts other people out of alignment with you. So this process will do that too. There will be people that are the long-term, the long haulers. They're going to level up no matter what frequency you're vibing at, and there are going to be other ones that get reactive, rejective, and that's okay. And sometimes they'll come back after separation. But the important thing is not to have attachment to it. Because that attachment is like an anchor, that is just tethered itself to your ankle, and it's dragging you down when you're trying to bend.
And it's helping them too.
Yeah.
It might trigger something within them to do the work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're trying to get to our baseline breaking point for everything, so we can push past it. And then, so do we want to end the call, or do you want me to give you some examples of what I do on the daily nervous system work?
I think we have some time for some examples.
All right. So I want to offer some activities that you can do, but I want to caution you if you have any conditions that you want to work up to this. So I'm always trying to find my baseline breaking point because I want to push past it. So I will do things like in 98-degree weather, I will put all my windows up and drive to 45 minutes to Salisbury with the no AC on, and that makes me slow down and I remain calm as I'm doing it. So what you'll experience through the process, you're going to feel like you're suffocating. You're going to feel like you're trapped in a box and you can't get out. You're witnessing your nervous system response. Pay attention to the nervous system because that's the guide. So pay attention to, who's triggering you when you're talking to them. What activities do you do? What happens when you're late for something? Is your nervous system all riled up when you're driving to work? Are you acting like it's an emergency and 911, it's the end of the world? I also, when it's really cold out, I'll do the same thing. I'll put the window down and drive in 30-degree weather for long distances. I also, to bump up my ability to hold my attention span, and I don't recommend this to anyone unless they've done tons of meditation, I put on a meditation while I'm driving for like 3 hours, and I make myself stay awake and aware. I also go through lots of sleep deprivation, and then I push myself really hard the next day. I might put on a backpack with 10 pounds in the backpack and go outside and walk for like 10 miles. I do crazy stuff. Or go out in the ocean when it's freezing cold. You want to get that nervous system triggered. You want to work through these responses. Does anybody have Angie? Emily, do you want to add anything?
I did want to say, kind of going off what Angie had said in the beginning with feeling, that'll build discernment because, like for me, for example, I hear a lot of things. So, you know, you might be getting answers, but like you don't really know like what the answer is. Like, you know, you just hear a lot of things, so you don't know like, okay, what's the truth, what's not. But feeling helps you discern to get there.
Yeah. Well, when you zero out that feeling and then you start asking questions, is this true? Is this thought true? And then you breathe into it. Is this, you know, you'll start picking up the language of your nervous system, how it responds to you. Angie?
If I went to get it several times, you know, the same, you know, words or message several times, then I know that's something I need to pay attention to. That's just, you know, like you have to really tune into it. And you could do maybe some muscle testing or the internal asking questions to discern, you know, if it is.
You know, we've done enough of the guided journeys to know, everyone should know their 0-point baseline by now.
Can I ask
again, go ahead.
I have a question about accountability. Every time I try to be accountable, I find myself being like in the guilt feeling, like feeling guilty about things I didn't do or did do wrong. How can I get out of that like cycle?
Okay, well, you're welcome to call me and I can give you some guided points, but you're lacking in your self-compassion. You have to, that has to be worked through, and that's one of the things that will come up through this process. So if you get to the point of self-accountability and guilt, you want to say, what is it about this? How can I bring more self-awareness into this guilt? You stop, breathe, listen, and usually by then, you know, you'll start picking up signals. And your mind will open up and start giving you answers. But you have to really listen, ask with intention. So you're probably stuck in guilt, fear, and shame, and you need to come out of that to work that process. But you can use this process to work through that. So you already have a guiding point to work through. So you can start this process now. How can I bring in more self-awareness to these guilty feelings that I feel when I'm taking self-accountability? Stop, listen. You don't hear anything. Where do I feel this guilt in my body? So I already have a signal in my heart. You're blocked in your heart from guilt.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Okay. So email me if you want to do a free session, quantumrealitystudies@yahoo.com. What's your name?
My name is Andrea.
Okay. Yeah, I want you guys to call me so we can work through this, because the more people that work through this, collectively, we create the synergy. like I said, this system's already built. It's operational. All we need is people to work it and heal. So anything else, guys? We'll wrap it up.
I have a question. I'm under like kind of constant bombardment, like they never stop, and I can't really meditate. Like I'll try to, like right now I'm just trying to sit out in the backyard and just hang out around the trees here, but like it's a constant bombardment of saying horrible stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so I have some, if you email me, I will email you this protocol that I have for targeted individuals who are dealing with, you can do this same process through what I'm going to send you. You need to start going inward and tracking these responses, paying attention to the dialogue and challenging it. If it's a constant bombardment, you have to really dissect it.
Yeah.
And counter these thoughts, because
I know what you're talking about. I mean, I definitely try to, I go inward and I because they try to get me to react and to engage, and I just, I'm always trying to redirect attention to something else. I find reading helps. Reading is one of the few things I find that kind of helps to block it.
Okay, so part of this process, and not many systems out there understand this because they don't understand the program end of things. Once we categorize something, we encode the system, we categorize it, we create a new mental model that we're going to work from. So that basically requires us to then, because the program's going to want to come back and keep hitting you. So then you have to say, no, I shut that timeline down. I no longer resonate with that. If you keep saying no, 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 after you've done the work, it'll stop. It dissolves.
All right.
You're caught up in the energy of it all. You have to dump some of that energy, some of those feelings. So you're basically trapped below complexity, uncertainty, and vulnerability. They're pinging off of your guilt, fear, shame, anger, resentment, frustration, humiliation, sadness, and grief.
Yeah.
Which you don't know that because it's all unconscious, because that's the survival.
Yeah, I know that. I try to put myself in a better mood whenever possible. But I mean, my situation, they like basically got like control of my wife, and like are just constantly talking. I mean, she's like a total mind control victim at this point. Like, she talks completely differently and everything, and all they do is talk about how they're trafficking her, and how eventually they're gonna get her unborn child, and like that's kind of hard to. Like, I try to just be like, above it.
Yeah, I empathize with you greatly. I know what you're talking about. I have had my own experiences, and I talk to some TIs or targeted survivors that I work with who are dealing with the same thing. But it's really about, I look at it like this. Look, if you have cancer, you have to deal with it, right? This is no different. You have cancer. So if you want to heal, you have to work through the healing part of it. And you're in the right place to work through it. It's now just up to you as to whether you want to do it. So you have to be willing to put in the effort, pull yourself. It's hard not to be in the victim mindset, especially when you're being pummeled every single day. I get it. I totally empathize. I'm not saying, get over it, just suck it up. And you don't just flip your frequency. We have to shut these programs down. You have to take back your autonomy. Build the new mental models. You shut it down. It'll keep trying to run the program. No, I'm sorry. I recoded that. I no longer resonate with that. And you just keep ignoring it. But, I'm sure it's sending spikes to your nervous system all day long with these thoughts. I had them. You're going to be homeless. You're going to be living in your car. Your son's going to be taken from you. They're going to put you in an insane asylum. I dealt with all of it. So when that stuff comes in now, because I've worked through the process, I just laugh at it. And then I'm actually to the point where I challenge it. just give it right back to them. But that's on a rare occasion because I don't have time to be messing with nonsensical stuff. But we just have to just call me. We'll work through it.
Yeah. How do is your email on here somewhere?
I just put it in chat.
Okay.
It's quantumrealitystudies@yahoo.com.
Yeah. Send an email with your open availability, and I'll say what's available, and then we'll have a conversation. We'll get you right side up, moving in the right direction, empowered.
Okay.
But this is hard work. It's not, in fact, I wrote this poem, and I'd like to end with this. It's real quick. So it's a Poli-Si reminder. The qualities you desire are inherent within you. You embody them. Take a moment to breathe. Your efforts are commendable. We shall not intervene to save you, as you possess the capability to prevail. We shall not attempt to repair you. You are intact. We shall not endeavor to heal you, as we acknowledge your entirety. We shall accompany you through adversity as you recall your authentic nature to restore balance and equilibrium, as you rebuild for mind, brain, heart, nervous system, free will, coherence through fraud-free vision.
Very good.
And we honor everyone that's here, and thank you so much for showing up, because this is very important work. Because when we dismantle these programs within us, we dismantle their systems, because you claim your agency and your sovereignty, and you can no longer be manipulated. And their systems are dismantling now, as you can see, because everything's being exposed.
So to talk about the next meeting, are we going to go with the 9th, Saturday night, the 9th of August?
Okay.
Same time?
Yep.
I highly encourage those that have questions and would like to work through the process with Jamie to reach out and email her. And it's nothing like, working on it one through one. You get the understanding of how it flows better as well. So if you haven't, then please do. And it repetition, everything, it can seem overwhelming trying to digest, the process and everything, but you'll look back as you keep chipping away at things and you keep working through it, and it'll become second nature, and you'll understand it. Just consider it as like, okay, you're learning like a new app on your phone or a new, piece of software. In the beginning you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not even going to be able to, I don't understand this, but you keep going, and then you know it. So think of inner healing and the work that is needed for the healing in the same process. Just to keep going at it, it makes a lot more sense. I also wanted to mention that we will be, Beyond the Looking Glass will be kicking off a new series. It's more in the mindset or framework of, meditation practices, breath work, some of those fundamental things they're very key processes to the Poli-Si method and practices, and this will help strengthen to just understand the importance of breathing and different ways to meditate. I know those, as such as myself, if you have the voice to skull transmission, they're just, you have to find a way of mitigating it, because your inner healing is more important than paying attention to the nonsense that is coming from the, that program, that system that is designed to have you stumble, distract you, and to delay you. So, again, all of this is just very important. The inner work is the kryptonite to these weaponization programs, the mind control, the subliminal programming, becoming in tune with yourself, understanding different ways to do muscle testing and things that, you're relying on your body to tell you the truth, right? Not what is being projected at your biofield. So all very important work, and we'll have more information about that coming out soon. Jamie, any final words? Anyone else?
That's it.
All right, well, I appreciate everybody attending. We will meet back on August 9th at 1 p.m. Central. That is 2 p.m. Eastern and 11 a.m. Pacific time. So I will send out a reminder email the week of. And thanks again, and I appreciate everybody for joining in.
Thanks.